The porch light hums tonight, casting a soft yellow glow across my rose garden. I'm sitting in my wicker chair, a cup of jasmine tea cooling in my hands, watching the neighborhood settle into its quiet rhythm. The street is still, save for the occasional flicker of a TV through someone's curtains. It's the kind of evening that makes you feel time is a river, slow and steady, carrying memories you thought you'd buried. I'm 73 now, and this little house, cozy, one story, with its creaky floors and rose bushes out front, has become my sanctuary. But it wasn't always mine. Not like this. Years ago, I lived in the house next door, built it with my own hands, or near enough, scrubbing floors to pay the mortgage, patching walls when storms tore through, raising my daughter, Clara, in a home I thought would always be ours. I never imagined I'd end up here, watching that old house from across the fence, its windows dark now, like eyes that no longer see me. Clara's gone, not dead, but gone in the way that hurts deeper. Gone because she chose to leave me behind. She put me in a nursing home, signed papers that said I was too old, too frail, too much a burden. She moved into my house thinking I'd fade away. But I didn't. I fought back, not with fists, but with the kind of quiet strength only a mother knows. This is the story of how I lost my daughter, my home, and nearly myself. But it's also the story of how I found my way back, not to the house I built, but to the woman I'd always been. It's not a story of revenge, though it might sound like it at times. It's a story of peace, the kind you earn when you refuse to let the world tell you you're finished. So, sit with me a while, let the crickets sing, let the tea grow cold. I'll tell you how it happened and why, even now, I still leave the porch light on. I was 23 when I married Henry, a man with kind eyes and calloused hands. We were young, broke, and stubborn enough to believe love could outlast any hardship. Henry worked construction. I took night shifts at a diner, pouring coffee for truckers and dreaming of a life where we didn't count pennies. Clara came 2 years later, a tiny thing with her father's curls and a cry that could wake the dead. From the moment I held her, I knew she was my purpose. Everything I did, every double shift, every skipped meal was for her. We bought the C. House in 78, a fixer-upper on a quiet street in Richmond, Virginia. It was small, with peeling paint and a roof that leaked, but it was ours. Henry and I spent weekends hammering nails, painting walls, planting a garden where Clara could play. I'd push her on a tire swing, her laughter filling the air, and think, this is enough. Henry died when Clara was 10, a heart attack that took him before the ambulance could arrive. I stood in the hospital, clutching Clara's hand, and promised myself I'd be enough for both of us. Being a single mother wasn't easy. I cleaned houses during the day, took bookkeeping classes at night. My knees ached, my hands cracked, but I never let Clara see me break. I sewed her prom dress from thrift store fabric, pawned my mother's pearls to buy her a used clarinet, sat in the front row at every school concert. When she graduated high school, I cried harder than she did, not because she was leaving, but because I'd done it. I'd raised her, kept the lights on, kept her dreaming. Clara was bright, ambitious. She wanted more than Richmond, more than our little house with its creaky stairs. I understood. I wanted her to fly. She got a scholarship to a college in D.C., studied marketing, landed a job at a flashy ad agency. I'd visit her tiny apartment, marvel at her confidence, the way she moved through the world like it owed her something. She'd call me on Sundays, tell me about her latest campaign, her new friends. I'd listen, smiling, thinking, She's going to be okay. But the calls grew shorter. Sundays turned to every other week, then once a month. She'd text instead, quick messages. Busy week, Mom. Love you. I told myself it was normal. Kids grow up. They build their own lives. Still, I'd sit in the kitchen, staring at the phone, missing the sound of her voice. When Clara was 28, she met Ethan. He was a lawyer, charming in a polished way that made me uneasy. His smile was too perfect, his handshake too firm. Clara adored him. They'd come for dinner, Ethan complimenting my cooking while Clara talked about their plans. Trips to Europe, a condo in the city. I'd nod, happy for her, but something in her eyes had changed. They were harder, sharper, like she was always. Calculating, Ethan proposed a year later. I gave them my blessing, sold my old car to help pay for the wedding. Clara wanted it big. White tents, live music, a dress that cost more than my monthly mortgage. I didn't mind. I wanted her to have everything. At the reception, she hugged me tight, whispered, "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." I held on to those words like a lifeline. After the wedding, the distance grew. Clara and Ethan moved to a sleek house in Arlington, all glass and sharp angles. I'd visit, feeling out of place in their marble kitchen, my sensible shoes squeaking on the floor. Clara was always rushing, meetings, dinners, gym classes. Ethan was worse, always on his phone, barely looking up. I'd bring casseroles, try to make conversation, but their world felt like a language I didn't speak. Still, I kept the house ready for them. I'd dust Clara's old room, keep her clarinet polished, bake her favorite lemon bars. Sometimes she'd visit, but it was always quick, a lunch, a coffee, then back to her life. I started to feel like a stopover, not a destination, but I never said anything. Mothers don't complain. We wait. We hope. Clara's visits dwindled to holidays, then just Christmas. She'd call, promise to come by, then cancel last minute. Work, travel, Ethan's family. I'd sit alone at the kitchen table, the lemon bars untouched, telling myself she was busy, not distant. But I saw it in her eyes when she did come home. They didn't linger on me anymore. They darted to her phone, to Ethan, to the life she'd built far from our little street. Ethan's influence grew. He'd talk about investments, real estate, maximizing assets. Clara started echoing him, asking about my savings, my mortgage. "You should downsize, Mom," she'd say. "This house is too much for you." I'd laugh it off. "This house is my heart, Clara. It's where you grew up." She'd smile, but it was thin, impatient. When Clara was 35, she got pregnant. I was overjoyed, knitting blankets, planning a nursery in my head. But the pregnancy was hard. Complications, bed rest. I drove to Arlington every weekend, cooked meals, cleaned their house. Ethan barely thanked me, but Clara would squeeze my hand, say, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Those words kept me going. Their son, Tyler, was born healthy, a miracle. I thought he'd bring us closer. I'd babysit when Clara went back to work, rocking Tyler in the same chair I'd rocked her. But Clara was different now, stressed, distracted. She'd snap at me for small things. Too much sugar in Tyler's snacks, too many toys. Ethan was worse. "We've got this, Dolores," he'd say, like I was intruding. I'd drive home, the silence in the car heavier than ever. When Tyler was 5, Clara and Ethan started having money troubles. I overheard them arguing during a visit, something about bad investments, a failed deal. Clara came to me one night, eyes red, "Mom, we might lose the house." I didn't hesitate. I took out a second mortgage on my house, gave them $50,000. "It's for Tyler," I said. Clara hugged me, promised to pay it back. I believed her, but the money didn't fix things. Clara grew colder, Ethan more dismissive. They stopped inviting me to Tyler's birthday parties, saying it was just family. I'd send gifts, call Tyler on his birthday, but Clara would rush him off the phone. I started to feel like a ghost in their lives, present but unseen. One day, Clara showed up alone, her face tight. "Mom, we need to talk about your future." She mentioned assisted living, saying I was getting up there, that the house was too much. I was 68, healthy, still gardening, still driving. I laughed, thinking she was joking, but her eyes were serious. "Ethan and I are worried about you," she said. "What if you fall? What if you forget things?" I felt a chill. "Clara, I'm fine. This is my home." She sighed, like I was being difficult. "We just want what's best for you." She left soon after, but her words lingered, sharp as a splinter. Over the next year, Clara's visits became inspections. She'd walk through the house, noting repairs, asking about my finances. Ethan started calling, suggesting I sell the house, move closer to them. "We'd take care of you," he said. I didn't trust his voice. It was too smooth, too calculated. Then came the day I fainted. It was a Tuesday, hot, and I'd skipped breakfast, standing too long in the garden. I came to on the kitchen floor, dizzy but fine. I called Clara, thinking she'd worry. She and Ethan showed up that night, all concern. "Mom, this is serious," Clara said. "You can't live alone anymore." I tried to explain, low blood sugar, nothing more, but they wouldn't listen. They stayed late, talking about options, their voices low, urgent. I didn't know they'd already contacted a lawyer. I didn't know they'd told neighbors. I was slipping. I didn't know Ethan had started changing the locks on my house. It happened so fast, I barely saw it coming. Clara invited me to lunch, said it was just us, a chance to catch up. "You need a break, Mom," she smiled. I didn't pack a bag, didn't bring my phone charger. I wore my old sneakers, thinking we'd be back by afternoon. They drove me to a place with beige walls and plastic flowers in the hallway. "Just for a few days," Clara said. "Rest up. The nurse will help you settle." Ethan hugged me, his cologne sharp. Clara kissed my cheek, her lips cold. Then they walked out, and the door clicked shut behind them. The room was sterile. No photos, no books, just a bed and a dresser I didn't choose. I asked the nurse for a phone. "You'll have to wait for visiting hours," she said. I told her my daughter had just left. She showed me a form. My name, Clara's signature, boxes checked for medical consent, residential admission. They'd committed me. I sat on the bed, hands folded, staring at the floor. My chest shook, but I didn't cry. Not yet. The next morning, I demanded to see the administrator. "There's been a mistake," I said. "I'm not senile. I'm not dying." She looked at me with pity. "Your daughter said you're not safe alone. We were told to expect long-term placement." I wanted to scream, but I held it in. Screaming would only make them think Clara was right. So I waited. For 3 days, I sat in that room, watching old people shuffle past, some muttering, some staring at nothing. I called Clara, got voicemail. I called Ethan, got blocked. I realized then they'd planned this. They'd taken my house, my life, and locked me away to fade. On the 4th day, I got a pen and a notebook from the night nurse. I wrote everything, dates, accounts, my lawyer's name, Monica Reeves. I wasn't confused. I wasn't done. They thought I'd disappear, but I was planning. Monica called me back after I left a message. This is Dolores Mayfield. My daughter committed fraud and placed me here against my will. She drove 3 hours in the rain, marched into the facility, and told the staff she was my attorney. "You're not staying here another week," she said. We went over everything, the forged power of attorney, the deed to my house still in my name, the joint account Clara thought I'd forgotten. Monica filed an emergency motion to revoke the forged documents. We got a capacity evaluation from the facility's doctor, who confirmed I was fine. We opened a case against Clara for elder exploitation. I left the nursing home on a Wednesday, no goodbyes, just Monica's arm around me as we walked out. We didn't go to my house. Monica booked us a hotel suite while we planned. We filed to force a partition sale of the house, since Clara and Ethan were living there without my consent. I pictured them on my couch, thinking they'd won. They hadn't won anything. They'd stolen it, and I was taking it back. We served them papers at 7 a.m. Clara screamed. Ethan slammed the door. That night, Clara called. "Mom, is this real? You're kicking us out?" I said, "You mean the house you threw me out of?" "Yes, I'm serious." I hung up, slept better than I had in months. We sold the house to a young couple, cash offer, closed in 2 weeks. Clara left a note. "You'll regret this." I didn't. With the money, I bought the house next door. I moved in, sat on the steps with my tea, and waited. When Clara saw me, she froze. I smiled. She went inside and didn't come out. Living. Next door wasn't about revenge, though it felt like it at first. It was about reclaiming my space, my story. Clara and Ethan avoided me. They'd park far from my driveway, draw their curtains tight. I planted roses along the fence, red as fire, and sat on my porch every morning, waving at neighbors, baking for the couple who bought my old house. Clara's car left earlier each day. Sometimes she didn't come back. Ethan stayed inside, lights on late, TV flickering. Tyler, now 12, started visiting. He'd knock, hesitant, then sit with me. "I heard what they did," he said one day. "I'm sorry." I poured him tea, told him I was never confused, just betrayed. He asked why I bought the house next door. "Because your mother needed a reminder," I said. "One she could see every day." Clara came to my door once, eyes tired. "Why are you doing this? Watching us?" I sipped my tea. "I bought this house because I liked the view. You humiliated yourself when you called me a burden." She looked away. "I thought I was helping." I shook my head. "You erased me, Clara. I'm just living." She left, and I closed the door. Months later, a for sale sign went up in their yard. Clara moved out, drove off without a goodbye. Ethan stayed, alone, the house dim. Tyler moved in with me, calling it our place. He gardened, laughed, asked about his grandfather. I saw goodness in him, a chance to break the cycle. I updated my will. Tyler got the house at 21. My savings went to a fund for older women in crisis. Clara got nothing. When she found out, she called, voice tight. "You're cutting me out?" I said. "You did that when you signed me away." That was our last call. Ethan left quietly. No goodbye. The neighborhood whispered, Florida, maybe, or friends. I didn't care. I sat on my porch with Tyler, muffins between us, and felt peace. "He's gone," Tyler said. I nodded. Sometimes people leave when they can't control the story. I spoke at the community center, told women like me, they'll call you old, a burden, but there's power in truth, in silence, in the law. They clapped. Some cried. One hugged me, whispered, "Thank you for reminding me I'm not crazy. My house is small, but it's free." Tyler sets the table, asks for cookies. I paint again, canvases of my old house, windows foggy with memory. The roses bloom, the tomatoes sprout. Clara's house is empty now, but I leave the porch light on, not for her, but for me, for the woman who survived, who chose peace over pain, who learned that love doesn't always come back, but strength always does.